Welcome to the EAPTC podcast, where we dive into global discipleship by exploring faith, leadership, and life-changing stories. And each episode is dedicated to inspiring and equipping you with insights and wisdom to grow spiritually, lead effectively, and live purposefully as a committed follower and disciple of Jesus. Thank you for tuning in. Here is your host, Dr. Paul Sungro Lee.
Hello everyone. Revelation 7, 9, and 10 depicts the picture of the body of Christ standing before Christ and worshiping the Lord together forever and ever. As much as we desire to see what's happening on this side of the heaven, the truth is somehow it is difficult to see that happening in our reality. For many Christian leaders, building a multicultural and multi-ethnic church is far more challenging than it seems to be. Today, I'm joined by Reverend Dr. Louis Wilson, Senior Pastor of New Song Community Church in the heart of Baltimore, Maryland. He's a co-founder and president of Create You Network, a published writer, and formerly served as a certified course Bible instructor for the National Baptist Convention. Dr. Wilson also organized Redemption Fellowship through its strong commitment to community involvement and missions and leadership development and discipleship. Redemption Fellowship became known as an equipping ministry and a church planting model within the Presbyterian Church of America. He is married to Ella, a wonderful lady who I had a privilege of meeting just briefly. And beyond all of his achievements, Louis is also my friend. So welcome to the podcast, Louis.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, I still remember the first time I met you. I think it was during our PhD doctoral research class.
Yes.
You came into the classroom and I saw you, and I really enjoyed your laughter, your humorous conversation, and we became friends after that. You know, we walked a separate journey afterwards, and you were serving the Lord in this part of the world, particularly in Baltimore. You became a senior pastor of this church, wonderful church that I am sitting with him at this moment. I was still serving as a missionary in different parts of the world, and we came a long, long way together and praying for each other. And so one day you told me, you know what, Paul, maybe one day we'll be working together for the Lord.
Yeah.
And so this became a reality today. So I'm so happy to have you today.
Yes. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Yeah, we connected back there at Oxford Graduate School, and I actually was thinking about when I made that statement. I was really thinking about I would join you overseas somewhere. I used to love to go overseas when I first got into ministry. And I used to go overseas quite a bit, and you were going to some wonderful places, and I said I want to join Paul over there, but it just so happens you came over here, and but still. You wound up working for a seminary that I had worked for when it first got started. And God connected us, so he knew what he was doing. Yeah.
Well, it's not too late. Anytime we can go to Africa or maybe China or somewhere and do the work together sometime.
Yeah, I haven't been in China. I've been to Africa a few times in China, though.
So, well, let's talk about those things. You know, a New Song Community Church, which you lead, is both racially and economically very diverse congregation, which is very known in this area for such a wonderful reputation. How did New Song become a multicultural church? Was it like primarily organic or like intentional, maybe both? Please share some of the history behind its development.
Well, I haven't been here the whole time. I've been here 11 years now. New Song, this May will celebrate, I think, 35 years, 36 years being here in the community. As everybody is motivated by different things, I can't say for sure what everyone's intentions was. Mm-hmm. I think all of us, to a certain degree, are multi-intentional. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I think that our, for lack of a better way to say it, I think our depravities drive us as much as our godly motives. I think the flesh and the spirit is always engaged in the work that we do, which is why we have to stay close to the Lord and have others talking to us besides our own selves.
Right.
Because we can be driven by different motives, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But I think that has a lot to do with whether our church becomes multicultural or multi-ethnic or homogeneic. But I think there was, as I know of, that people saw a need in communities such as Sandtown, where you had seen white churches flee from years ago. Churches that some of them are even our partners of this day, but they fled, and you can see where they constantly fled away from the city. Some of those people felt that they needed to reinvest back into the community, and that they needed to demonstrate to people the love of Christ in a very practical way. Because by the time people had felt a need to come back, the needs were great. Housing, food, education, even drugs were proliferating. And so how do you love a people that are suffering and disenfranchised from those kinds of things? Because you also had economic disenfranchisement. A lot of the businesses left. You had the 60s come along. I mean, that's way, way back. So that's even before this ministry was here. That brought the community down, and it just never came back up. And so people of goodwill said, we want to come and show those people the love of Jesus. So there's an intentionality with that.
Okay.
Now, the question becomes, I'm a systemic theorist, so all things are connected.
Right.
I think that's a biblical way to look at things as well.
I think so, yeah.
When you begin to pour resources into a community of need, then the question becomes, what is that community understanding about Christ from what you do? That's a valid question if you think about it. I don't have to be a Christian to feed somebody. So what's the difference between my feeding somebody as a Christian and someone else feeding somebody who's not a Christian? That's a question. If you don't think about that, literally there could be no difference. If I'm hungry and you have a plate of food and you give me a plate of food and that's the end of the exchange, then you just gave me some food.
Right.
And people do that in poor communities every day who are not Christian. So just as a Christian, so doing a good deed as a Christian in and of itself doesn't necessarily, to me, say that you've done that in the name of the Lord.
Right.
So what needs to transpire besides that so that I can communicate to that person or those people that what I do is in his name? So how do we do that? To me, that takes doing something more than just handing you a plate. The plate may be the start.
Right.
But I need to find a way that we can begin to have a conversation.
True.
In some kind of way. Now, don't get me wrong. You may not ever accept the reason I do what I do. That's not on me.
Right.
God's not calling me to save anybody. But I'm still doing it for him.
Exactly.
So prayerfully, I can build a relationship. At least we can begin to have a conversation. Because usually if you're doing something for somebody consistently, especially if you got a relationship going where they can do something for you as well, now it becomes a mutual investment. You're invested in them and they're invested in you.
Right.
You begin to have different types of conversation. See, this is a sidebar. One of the things that happens when we come to the hood, we invest, but we don't allow investment.
Okay.
So no, what I can do for you, because you're poor, but you can't do for me. That's condescending.
It is.
You see, as a matter of fact, that snatches away, which we say that we believe, the image of God in them. Because God said that we've been created in His image, and we've been told to produce, multiply, all these good things. And He didn't say, if I'm doing well and I have X number of dollars in the bank. So we all have the ability to do good to others and to receive good. Just from what Genesis 1:27-28 says. So in some kind of way, I got to have a relationship where our giving and taking becomes reciprocal. Now, if you were to listen to the 3 pillars of like a church like New Song or CCDA, Christian Community Development, they are relocation, redistribution, and reconciliation.
Okay, 3 R's.
3 R's. Well known. Some of your audience may know of John Perkins. He pushed that quite a bit. New Song was built on those 3 pillars. So you have people that relocated, quite a few. You talk about intentionality. They relocated to live in this community. Mainly, I'm talking about white. Redistribution is kind of a thing where you try to find ways to reinvest in the community. We did that. This was a big ministry. It's not today, but this was a big ministry. They built homes, Sandtown Habitat, Eden Jobs, they had a medical center, they had a children's choir. There was a school down the street. So this was a $3 to $5 million a year deal. So there was a lot of investment, if you will, in the community.
Right.
That's the redistribution. Now, one could assume, because you obviously have a lot of interaction going on, that there's reconciliation taking place. You heard what I said. You can assume. But is it?
It doesn't.
It is because I give you something and you take it from me. Does that mean that we're reconciled?
I'm getting what you're saying.
That can be transactional. So it's okay to begin there, but understand that doesn't mean that you're reconciled. Because when Paul talks about reconciliation, what is he talking about? At the end of the line, he's talking about being reconciled to God. So what are we doing for us to draw one another into that type of reconciliation? Now, a lot of the people that came here were Anglo. I mean, this was the end church to be. If you wanted to do inner city ministry. We had a lot of big groups come in, building homes and so forth and so on. But does that mean, okay, I might make somebody mad. I used to tell people, the old slave church was multi-ethnic because the blacks were in the balcony. You couldn't sit downstairs in the pews. So being in a room don't mean we're reconciled. You see? And if I don't go to the stores you go to, do I know you? Because remember, you had people come here to go to church, but this is not where, and some did move here. Most didn't. They lived somewhere else. See, you can be multi-ethnic and not multicultural.
That's a good point.
That's a different beast. The passage you read, because I sort of kept them up. Now, people look at that and say, see, we were all together. Yeah, that's true. But he looked and saw people from every nation. There was a distinction. He saw there was something about these people that was different because he saw people from every nation, every tribe, every people, and every language. And I think that's where we mess up with the reconciliation. But well, we just one. Yeah, sort of. But and then what about this verse? He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth. Okay, that is, we're all from one man. Having predetermined allotted periods and boundaries of their dwelling. So from God's perspective, he never wanted everybody to live in the same place. He predetermined the boundaries of their dwelling that they should see. Now, he did it for a reason, that they should seek God. You follow me here? That tells me sometimes homogeneity can be a deterrent. which is what I think you're sort of trying to talk about a little bit. Homogeneity can be a determinant that they may seek God. So to get them to seek God, I got to bust them up. Mm-hmm. So I determine their boundaries in the place for habitation, and perhaps feel their way toward Him and find Him. But then again, so diversity and ethnicity, the multiculturalism is where if you walk into my church or I walk into your church, I can be who I am. Let's say everybody don't shout, right? Can I shout enough if I come in your church and be accepted?
I'm getting what you're saying.
Why not? See, that's multicultural. If I have to conform to how you do worship, that's multi-ethnic. You see. And I think a lot of what we have out here today is really multi-ethnic. Accepting other cultures and how they and their expressions of worship is difficult. And plus, should it always be so? So when God wants us to be multicultural, is that about what we think or who's in the room? And I think we're so focused on who's in the room, because there's another question that you have there that talks about discipleship, that we don't really do effective discipleship because we're more worried about the color of the person in the room than we are about the mission of discipleship with the person that's in the room.
That's so true.
See, we need more blacks, we need more of this, we need more of that. So what? But will I do what's necessary to disciple you? And to disciple somebody, you got to let some of your stuff go.
Absolutely.
Now that's tough.
Yeah.
See, now you're talking about being multicultural. I got to let some of my assumptions go. I remember when I first graduated from Moody, and I remember I told these two black ladies, this is a traditional black church. You know, folk jumping, hollering, screaming, shouting. And I say, does God make you love thee? I'm teaching now. Well, no. And what make you think He make you jump that bench? You know, because they say that the Spirit of the Lord hit me. That's why I'm doing this dance, whatever. Was I right? But the point of it is, from that day on, every time I stood up to preach, they walked out the door. I'm telling the truth, for years. They love my wife because she used to sing. Ella sing, I stand up, they walk out. All of us have cultural expressions that we've learned. They're neither right nor wrong. But what happens is we begin to think, and whatever our cultural expressions are, that's the expression. So to be multicultural is to say that my expressions aren't the expression.
Right.
And their expressions aren't necessarily the anti-expression. Otherwise, they'd be doing it my way.
Right, yeah.
That's tough stuff. That's tough.
It is.
You know, to not think that I'm right, you know.
Actually, I agree with you 100%. I've been a missionary for many years in different places of the world, and it's tough to face a new culture and try to be one of them or to learn from them. And at the same time, I keep my own and try to mingle with unique and distinctive cultures that everybody has and come up with this global body of Christ that has very interesting and unique and beautiful mixture of all kinds of expressions. That is tough. Yes. I agree with you.
Yes. And it's something you just can't assume that because you learned it with a particular person or a particular group that you got it when you go over here. Because that's a whole different group. But and you know that because you've been in a lot of places in the world. And you got to learn a whole different set of cultural phobias and you know, and all kind of stuff. You know, as you know, you've been to Africa, so I'm quite sure you've experienced this. I know, but you know, you go some places, you know, they eat with their fingers. Well, you can't go there. That's just nasty. You can think whatever you want to think, but you better start to grabbing. Otherwise, you're being offensive. Because that's more than eating with your fingers. You think it's eating with your fingers. That's a way of communing.
True.
You see. But when you're taught a certain way, to think a certain way, you think a sermon has to be crafted a certain way. The songs have to be sung a certain way. You have to respond a certain way. And we learn those things. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Living in a multicultural world means that we're going to have to do discipleship differently.
Tell us about it. That's a very important topic.
So how do we reach out to people that have values that are distinct from ours? The lepers, the woman with the issue of blood, the prostitutes, knew Christ had the door open. Think about that. A woman comes, more than likely a woman of the world, and washes his feet with her hair. More than likely a woman of the world. And he says nothing. He lets her do what she would have done to a bunch of men. It was her way of recognizing who he was. That's all she knew. It was her way. And he lets it happen. I don't know what that means for discipleship. I know in the world that we're in, it's changing. It's changing rapidly. And we need to think about it. If we're going to disciple this world and allow this world to be multicultural, we're going to have to change a whole bunch of stuff in terms of how we think. That's why I say it's not about how many of these or those are in the room. It's a matter of it's what's up here and what's in here.
Right. You make me to think a lot today. Accepting who they are just as who they are. That's the starting point, right?
That's the starting point.
Can you maybe give us some of the examples of how you have experienced such discipleship fruits? Maybe just accepting as who they are and seeing them turn to Christ and matured in the Lord. Have you had such experiences before? I'm sure you have, but can you share maybe some of them?
Yeah, well, let me think of an older experience and then something that we're trying to do now. A lot of people hang out behind that door right there. Just homeless people, whatever. Chen's Chinese family been here probably longer than anybody. Been here a long time. The kids weren't even born when they first came here. Anyway, they're still here. And Josiah, the son, they do Meals on Wheels. We do Meals on Wheels 3 days a week. Well, he and someone do it on Friday, and he came one Friday and said, you can come to church anytime. But his boldness to do that. So someone just wrote to me and said, are we going to do anything about that person hanging out there? So I said, well, we have a trustee meeting this Sunday. I said, let's talk about it. As opposed to strategizing what we're going to do to get rid of him, what can we creatively do to let him know he's welcome? Might take a little work. Maybe that you see him one Sunday, you go over to McDonald's, get some food, and I don't know. See, I don't think we spend time creatively thinking through how to reach. We're so busy trying to reach a whole bunch of people. Just reach one.
You know what, Luis, today I was going to go through some of the questionnaire with you, but it seems like you have already covered everything that I had questions about, and the Lord has been leading our conversation, which I'm so grateful. Because of limited time and space, anything you want to leave behind for the final thoughts?
I'm sorry if I did. I read your format, so I think half of it was in my head. So Redemption was the largest Black church in the PCA. Maybe one of the fastest growing churches in the PCA. And God brought me here. This church was part of my restoration. And I encourage all of us to look at the little things in life that God is doing to conform you into the image of Christ. That's what's important. I know a lot of stuff, I got 2 masters and 2 doctorates.
You're one of the smartest people that I've known, I told you.
I know a lot of stuff, and I'm real stupid. I'm learning that He's enough.
Wow, amen to that. My friends, we talked about so many nuggets. We need to take some time to think about some of the things that can be applied in our own life. So I really want to bless you to go ahead and think about those conversations that we just went through. And discipleship is starting from accepting the people the way they are. That's the very starting point. We talked about it, and I think we can start from there. And Louis, thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you.
And it's such a pleasure to get to know you in the past, also walk with you, kind of watch you from a distance. The Lord has been doing marvelous work in your life. And also hear from you today about all these things. It's just wonderful. Such wisdom and love and care. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
And also, when you have your book ready, we're going to have another podcast on that. We can talk about that even more.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to that, and I hope and pray that things will work out for you soon, and your book will be out to the world to bless the people out there.
Thank you.
Well, to all our listeners, thank you for joining us today. Please follow the podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much. God bless. See you next time.
Looking to grow as a disciple maker and leader? EAPTC Academy offers practical, hands-on discipleship training to equip you for Christian ministry and missions. With a 9-month program and flexible study options, you'll receive first-hand guidance to fulfill the Great Commission. With a global reach and multilingual courses, the Academy partners with churches to empower individuals to live out the Great Commission. Whether through guided cohorts or independent study, EAPTC Academy prepares you for impactful ministry. Visit eaptc.online to learn more.
Thank you for being part of the EAPTC global family. United, we can reach every life, every community, and every nation for the glory of God.